Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk with Boyum. I'm your host, Leat, and today we're getting into a topic that has gained a lot of buzz in these past few years, AI. I'm sure you all have heard of it by now. More specifically, how AI is changing the way businesses have to position their products and drive growth in the current landscape. And joining me today is my colleague Antonia Lingo, Head of Market Growth here at Boyum. Antonia, thank you for joining us in this episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And let's start with like the big picture. A lot of SaaS companies are implementing AI in recent years, like we've all seen it, and it has almost become a norm at this point. From a positioning standpoint, what has changed since AI was introduced?
Well, the short answer is that buyers are more sophisticated than before, and AI has moved from something new to being something almost expected. Early on, you could differentiate by mentioning AI, but today customers ask different questions. They ask not do you have AI, but more like what specific outcomes does your AI feature create that I can measure in my day-to-day?
Hmm.
So positioning in a way has shifted from technology first to outcome first, I would say.
Hmm.
And also instead of leading with AI powered, I think most companies should lead with the outcome. So for example, cuts 2 hours from every product launch, or
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe reduces time to quote by 30%. Because technology is how you do it, but what your buyers and customers care about is what and why you do what you do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I like like the outcome, the way of mentioning outcomes. It sounds simple, like when you talk about it, but a lot of companies have a hard time executing it still. Like, where do we see the issue? Like, how can a company translate their AI capabilities into like an effective positioning when talking to customers?
Mm. I think I think first you have to think about a very repetitive task that your customers are tired of,
Hmm.
and then you have to create your promise around how you're going to help them solve that repetitive task
Yeah.
and reduce the friction that it creates. And then I think as a natural follow-up step is to prove that what you're saying has value, gives them value. And that could be through a some sort of a metric or even a short demo that shows them how to use the feature in their day-to-day work so that they can see themselves in it and see how their work is
Hmm.
going to be easier.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Like, could you give me like an example of one of those jobs that customers face and how AI could reframe that in for them?
Yes. Um, well, let's take product data for example. Um, as you know, marketing and product teams spend a ton of time um, collecting, structuring, and rewriting information before they're able to share it through their channels and to reach their customers. So in the PIM context, AI can help you draft the first version of descriptions, let's say, translate to different
Mm.
languages, and also classify the data. Um, but you, as a human being, you're not left out. You are still needed in order to verify and improve the first draft. So
Hmm.
your role shifts from being kind of the producer of that information to being the controller
Yeah.
of the outcome. And that also helps you spend time on other tasks rather than starting from scratch, which can improve also the quality of the output that you create.
Yeah.
And I think using that context in positioning as a positioning story is a great way to showcase what is the value rather than just discussing the AI feature that your product has.
Yeah, and like one thing we hear a lot about, let's say like you're talking to your customers and they want to implement these AI features for their business. There's a lot of consideration into because each company has sensitive data that they want to protect, and there is sometimes an issue with like implementing the system. Like how central is that to AI positioning?
Oh, it is very, very central because, of course, you may lose your potential customers if they don't trust that you will take care of their data, and that is a yeah a deal breaker
Mm,
for many companies. So if your AI feature in a way needs customer data or your customers are worried about leakage or that you train or their IPs, I think it's very crucial to explain um, your positioning and how you handle their data because
mm,
you can also turn this around and use it as a growth driver.
mm,
Um, Basically, taking their fear and turning it into a value proposition by
sure.
explaining clearly this is our process, this is how we take care of it.
Mhm.
You're safe with us in a sense.
And like I want to get into like for example a concrete example for manufacturing. Like for example here at Boyum we recently announced an AI assistant for BS. What is the positioning story there?
Yes, with Bayes, the friction we focused on is time lost navigating ERP screens to answer simple questions.
Mm,
Or you could also say to create routine documents.
yeah.
So with the Bear's AI assistant, let's say a production planner can ask for the latest work orders, or they would like to see the resource usage, or even create a work order or a time receipt from a natural language prompt. And here the value is not that we have LLM just for having LLM. The
Hmm.
value for them is that they get a faster answer and fewer clicks when they, open the application, and instead of spending minutes looking for the documents, they can just simply ask the AI assistant for
Mm.
what they're looking for. And that's the story we are trying to convey to the market.
Yeah, I think that's like a good example of what you mentioned about like AI being not just okay, we have AI, but actually talking about the real day-to-day tasks that AI improves. When you see like when companies talk to customers, what kind of when we talk about metrics, what kind of metrics do you recommend they track to validate this kind of assistant and so they can communicate that to the customers?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I would say probably the time to answer for
Hmm.
those routine questions. Um, Also, the number of clicks
Hmm.
or screens per core tasks that they click on or see, and how long it takes for the AI prompt to complete without you interfering.
Hmm.
And so, if kind of those metrics are moving in the right direction, then I think you have come up with a position promise that is real, tangible,
Hmm.
and your customers are seeing the value. But if they don't, then I think either the assistant needs more skills or
Hmm.
training on more data, or you have to refine the way how you position the feature. Yeah.
Let's try to zoom a bit out. Like, of course, like assistants and chats, it's a big part of the AI features that companies are implementing. And but when you try to position it, like what other than an AI feature that is a chat based, what in which other ways is AI changing positioning for businesses?
Mm. Well, I think many are using AI as a decision support. So here I'm thinking of help with forecasts or spotting issues or
Mm-hmm.
even um, planning schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that operation teams have tools to kind of make decisions and
Mm-hmm.
not just have reports to read.
Mm-hmm.
That's one part. I think another part is um, the content speed creation. So
Mm-hmm.
we are dealing with a lot of customers that have, let's call it heavy product information.
Mm-hmm.
And what AI can help them with is, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is to draft the first example of the description,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone from the team can review and approve. Yeah, and another point is knowledge sharing. So
Mm-hmm.
we are dealing with a lot of products that also have long manuals or help content. So you can also use AI assistant to search that content and provide a shorter version, which can provide faster answers to the people that are searching for those answers, but also potentially reduce support requests.
Yeah, like touching on that knowledge delivery point specifically. Like for example, in Boyum, we recently added AI features to our B1 Up user base, where the assistant can answer questions related to product manuals, for example, and training materials that we host. And like you mentioned, that gives partners and users fast support.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the kind of positioning that resonates with both our end users but also partners because at the end of the day, it shortens time to value and hopefully reduces support load.
Yeah, yeah. And like many teams that we see around, like with different companies, many teams are trying to decide whether to position AI as a platform in itself or an AI feature inside an existing category or just a completely new AI native category. How would you say what could help companies pick their angle of positioning the AI features?
Hmm. Well, I think that's a tough one, but I think it depends on how buyers already see your product. So
Yeah.
if they already have a budget for your type of solution, I would say it's usually better to position yourself as the AI powered option in
Mm-hmm.
that category because I think it may be too much if you're creating a whole new category
Mm-hmm.
for something that already exists.
Yeah.
So my view on this would be to only create a category if, yeah, if what you deliver is is so different that it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit into what your potential customers can find elsewhere.
Yeah.
Um, so like if you're turning, let's say, simple reporting into smart actions inside the ERP, let's say, you
Mm-hmm.
can still stay under manufacturing execution or
Mm-hmm.
ERP usability um, and highlight the AI part so they know how AI is helping them, but that does not necessarily mean that you have to create a completely new category for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like in the last few years, like we've seen so many companies communicate so many AI features that it can almost feel like what usage does this have for me? Are they just adding it as a buzzword, right? And
Mhm.
customers can feel a bit overwhelmed by that. So I guess that's also a risk because most companies are kind of hurrying to implement AI, and that can that hurt the message sort of like for today's customers who are so used to AI when you try to position it to them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Now we see every other company has AI, right? So
Yeah.
when it's not being different is following the trend, but that can also be negatively perceived by buyers online because they are maybe overwhelmed with AI information
Mm,
today. But how to deal with this in terms of your product positioning? Well, I would say I would probably stick to maybe 2 to 3
mm,
key areas where AI truly makes
mm,
a difference, and I would build the story around those.
mm,
And I would also say consider adding more AI features only after you have seen how your end users are using the AI
mm,
features that you already have. Yes, how they're using it and how much they're using it.
mm,
And I would also maybe suggest, why don't you talk to your end users? Why don't you ask them if they're missing and what
mm,
they're missing in terms of AI functionality? Because maybe they have enough, or maybe they can come up with an idea that you didn't really consider. And that's also a very nice way to collect feedback and make them feel valuable for your product development as well.
mm. Yeah, exactly. Like it's without that proof and credibility and sort of listening to your customers, it can be sort of hard to position it beyond like just demos and sort of showing your AI features in action. What else could help AI positioning really land with customers?
Hmm. I well, demos are always good, right? But I would
Hmm.
also suggest short before and after videos so that your audience can recognize themselves in the task that you are performing in that short video. And they can then also see for themselves the difference that AI makes for them. And hopefully that will trigger them to think about, can I use this in my day-to-day work?
Hmm.
Is it really going to save me time or make my job easier or whatever the value is? Um, then I would suggest describing or stating um, like a clear explanation of what AI will access in terms of their
Hmm.
data and what
Hmm.
it will not. Because as we talked earlier, you don't want your potential customers and users to be in doubt or to be afraid that their data is not safe.
Hmm.
And then I think concrete examples always work. So, like we do sometimes, we say works with BS work orders and SAP Business One tables
Hmm. Hmm.
is way more convincing than just saying works with data, because everybody or everything works with
Yeah.
data,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like definitely like being specific with your examples is important, right? And like when companies are sending their sales representative to try to sell these AI enhanced features, what have you noticed are the questions that sort of helps customers sort of discover the features and show the real value of the software?
Yeah, well, there are many questions, if I have to be honest. And you also have to feel the room in a sense where the customer is and things like that. But I know sales reps are way more equipped
Mm,
in doing that than I am. But some of the things that I've heard are, for example, questions around what questions or even what tasks slow you down daily
mhm,
that
mhm,
maybe should take only 10 seconds for you to complete.
mhm,
Um, in a lot of the discussions that I've been part of, we also talk about catalogs and documents that
mhm,
you create repeatedly. So some of the questions are around which documents do you create often and maybe do not require for you to judge the content of it and come
mhm,
up with the content, but more make sure that it's accurate.
mhm.
Um, Another one, a good one could be where do handoffs fail because someone had to click through a couple of, screens to find a number, but
Yeah.
then the process was disconnected. So kind of guiding the conversation to a place where they themselves state the challenge and almost themselves find um, the solution for it. So then you can go and say, okay, but this is
Mm,
exactly what we have, and then you can shortly show them how it works.
yeah. And like as I'm sure like a lot of our listeners have heard about recently because it's been all over the news. There's a big regulatory wave in Europe recently. We've seen a lot of different regulations like the digital product passport and other environmental regulations regarding the sort of data that companies have to be able to show to consumers. And how does that play into positioning for very data heavy products for customers that have a lot of products and a lot of data to that they need to share?
Yeah, but that's a tough question to answer because it's so yeah, so dependent on the regulations itself. But
Mm,
from our experience, what we know is that the digital product passport and ESG
mm,
regul reporting, what it did was to increase the awareness around that your bad data costs
mhm,
more than
mhm.
getting unupdated, structured, clean
Yeah.
data. And that really helps to position AI and a PIM system in a way to help reach a compliance readiness in an effective and structured way.
Mhm,
Um, so here the message is not use AI for AI's sake, but it's more use and take advantage of AI to help you structure, classify, enrich your data that you have to do manually, for example, and use a PIM
mhm,
system to help you do that. So then you can meet the digital product passport requirements around traceability and packaging,
mhm,
um, but you will not overload your team because you create the infrastructure that is needed for your product information to be compliant so that you can then create those reports and be
mhm.
compliant.
Yeah, and like also to get into not only external features, but let's talk about, for example, internal alignment. How do both product teams, marketing teams, and sales stay coordinated so the AI positioning story stays consistent?
Yeah, that's very dear to my heart because I need to make sure that our team as well is aligned. And I think what works well for us is to have like a shared view of the exact jobs that the AI feature supports, um, together with the prompts that you will demo, and also the success metrics. Um, because if you have all of this prepared, then you are sure, at least, that your team has the same foundation to build their own way of presenting this, because they, of course, would make it a little bit individual, but if the basics are aligned, then it's also easier for them to rely on it and to go back to it in conversations where they may hear a question for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think I should also mention, also kind of like a template around handling objections, because that's yeah, you can't avoid it. There will be people that are negative towards what you're presenting, or maybe not understanding where you're going with this. So yeah, basically creating a very uh, good documentation around your AI features, and making sure that the team knows where to find them, and that the teams have given you feedback, and also have given you feedback after talking to a couple of yeah, potential customers or existing customers.
And just to finish it off with like sort of one final practical question for our listeners, for teams that are listening and they want to refresh their website or sales deck in order to sort of communicate these features to the customers the best way. What would you say their quote unquote AI section should look like today?
Oh, what it should look like today? Well, don't use AI to write it. No, just kidding, just kidding. You can use AI, as we've talked about for the draft, but what I would suggest is to have a section where you shortly and practically um, describe
Mhm,
what you what value you're bringing, and how are you solving the challenges that your audience is facing. So I
mhm,
would suggest you would start with a headline that focuses on the main job or outcome,
mhm, mhm,
and then you can follow by um, maybe a highlight of the users and what they can do and how it adds value
mhm,
to what they're doing today. Um, and of course, don't forget to explain how you handle data securely,
mhm,
because of course we don't want people to not trust that they're in good hands.
mhm,
Um, and I would also say add a short demo or a short video of the functionality
mhm,
from a specific role, so that it, in a way, it's targeted to the audience that you want to reach, and you ensure that people reading that landing page and looking at the video can
mhm.
see themselves in the video that you're showing.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, be clear, focused, and easy to understand. That would be my advice.
Great way to wrap it up. Antonia, thank you so much for your time and your great insights.
Thank you so much too, Laird. It was a pleasure.
And thank you all the listeners for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and join us next time for more tech insights.